Now, let me tell you about Matt Miller. We've got this fantastic thing called a $50 challenge. Matt Miller lives in Queensland. He's one of our on-the-road reporters. This week, his challenge involved him driving all the way from Brisbane to Sydney. Check out what happened.
As dawn breaks on a very chilly morning here in Brisbane. G'day, Fred. This month, a Top Gear style challenge in this, my Hyundai Accent 2006 model. She's got a full tank of petrol right now, and I'm starting at the Kangaroo Point Cliffs in Brisbane. The aim is to make it to the Novotel Sydney on Darling Harbour with just $50 for refuelling. Well, that's taken far too long. Let's have a look inside and see what I'm doing. So, yes, nothing really happens on a long drive like this. Plenty of time by yourself to think, to ponder the meaning of life, and listen to a little bit of Phil Collins. One big key thing to a long drive like this is plenty of rest stops. The RTA and many motoring bodies, including the NRMA and RACQ, recommend a break roughly every 2 hours. So for me, that's Ballina, then the major lunch and fuel stop at Port Macquarie. 28.9 litres goes into the car and I'm back on the road, with the threat from New South Wales Police of being arrested if I break down on the Harbour Bridge for deliberately running out of fuel. NRMA Patrolman Barry joins me just north of Newcastle, so let's skip ahead a little bit to where the excitement really gets underway.
Well, this is where the true test begins. Traffic lights. The needle is now closer to empty than it is to a quarter. Another red light. I just didn't think this was possible. I was going along so well, and depending on which way you look at that fuel gauge, I am just about to receive the red light warning. Normally that means about another 70 k's.
The final turn of the epic 918 kilometre journey, turning in to the Novotel on Darling Harbour. After arriving last night on the final 10 litres of fuel, I've had a great night's sleep here at the Novotel Darling Harbour. Short time ago I caught up with Jack from the NRMA to ask him about economy running.
Well, for country drivers, probably the main thing is to take off things like bull bars and roof racks if you're not using them, because they create a lot of drag. Take any unnecessary weight out of the car. Don't carry tools or heavy things, golf bags around with you if you're not going to use them immediately. And make sure your tyre pressures are up to the maximum recommended by the manufacturer. The idea everywhere is to drive smoothly. If you're in the country, when you're going down a hill, pick up speed as long as you stay below the speed limit, and then wash off a bit of speed as you go up the next hill. So that saves a bit of fuel. Don't use your cruise control if you're trying to save a maximum amount of fuel unless you're on a dead flat road, because the cruise control tries to keep the vehicle at absolutely the set speed and means it uses a lot of throttle. On a family sort of trip, inevitably you're going to have a lot of people and gear in the car, so that's fine, that's what they're for. But you still can save fuel by, if you don't need to have gear on the roof rack, take that off, drive smoothly. If you're on multi-lane roads, you don't have to travel at the speed limit. If you travel at a lower speed, you'll save fuel, but always keep to the left, of course, because it's a legal requirement and also courteous. and just make sure that when you fill up the vehicle, you only fill to the first click.
Jack from the NRMA there. Thanks to him for his time, Patrolman Barry for the escort, and also Tim and Kimberly from head office for organising it all. Also thanks to Mark from the Novotel Sydney on Darling Harbour for the amazing night's accommodation. Now, Fred, it's been about a month and a half since I did that trip, and while editing, I realised that I never actually explained why I chose $50 as the refuel amount. Well, it was decided that the risk of arrest was too great, even with an NRMA escort. And not only that, the car exceeded all fuel economy stats I'd gathered in the 6 years of owning her. Even on the return journey, she broke the records again. I'm now getting about 550 k's to a tank around town in this amazing little car. Never fear though, I will not make those mistakes again. On the next crazy road trip adventure, I'll have a refuel amount so low that I probably will not make it. But them's the dice you roll when you're making television, as you well know, Fred. So I'll throw it back to you in the studio, and I'll see you next month with something else here on the East Coast.
Thank you very much to Matt Miller. And can I just say, Matt, technically you didn't meet your challenge because your petrol price was $50.02. I know it gets rounded down, but on the surface you didn't meet it. But maybe the next one, Matt, you need to keep to the $50 on screen as well. Now, if you like Matt Miller and you've got an idea for a segment on the show, we would love to hear from you as well, because we would love to have new segments, but you have to be as good as him putting it all together, and we'd love to give you the opportunity. So write to us, go to our website and give me a call or write to us. We'd love to have new presenters from all over Australia to tell us what's happening in their state.